members last year.
I'm not getting
So we'll have to send Glenn.
So I'm wondering, can I do it?
Visual coordinator.
I'm not getting to send all of them.
Probably because of all of our new,
So that won't.
not being able to be on like the network, having to go on the guest. Maybe I'll just
I went in that.
she's got that.
Good evening.
Molly is the one that has the hard time.
Good afternoon. It's 5:30 and I call this meeting of the Bastrop Independent School District order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present and that this meeting has been duly called and that a notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, if you'd please rise and join me in the pledges and our opening prayer.
Just watch what faces she made.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. If you'd please remain standing. We have Cody Whitfield here this afternoon. He's the pastor of River Valley Christian Church. And Cody, thank you and your church very much for supporting us and coming out.
Thank you. Let's pray. Father, what a great year it is to begin school at BISD. God, I am thankful to say that my daughter started first grade and this year will finish as a senior. Thank you for... Thank you for the men and women, not just who are here, but who they represent, who poured into her life to make her part of the woman that she is today. God, I am eternally grateful for what you have given my family personally in BISD. God, I ask for that same rich blessing over the students' lives this year. God, thank you for the men and women who are before me. They represent our community, and their diligence makes a huge difference. God, I thank you so much for our new superintendent. I am grateful for the direction, and I'm excited to follow him in his leadership. God, for the men and women who are gathered here from the campuses, I appreciate all that they do, and I pray for the richest blessing. It is a hard and often thankless job, but God, it is not one that goes unrewarded, for our students leave here better equipped for the future. Thank you for their diligence. We love you, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Cody. All right, at this time, Mr. Edwards, would you introduce our student speaker for this evening, please?
I sure will. That'll be my pleasure. We'd like to welcome Brady Schieffer, an 8th grade at Bastrop Middle School, and he will speak this evening on respect. Brady is in student council, NJHS. He plays football, basketball, runs track, and he helps organize and promote Christian's Closet and The Den. Brady's parents are Darren and Leslie Schieffer, and I think I saw Leslie there. Just stand up, and if you'd like to come up to the podium, please, Brady. And
Hello, my name is Brady Schieffer, and I'm an 8th grader at Bastrop Middle School. It's my pleasure to be here this evening to talk about our character trait of the month, respect. Respect is such a powerful trait that is not just applied in a school setting, however, it is emphasized on a daily basis. As students, we want teachers to respect us, our opinions, and our voices. At the same time, we as students need to continuously show respect to our faculty and staff. At BMS this year, we have taken time to put visuals throughout the school to remind students about this important trait, and will strive to continuously make it a safe and respectful place for both students and teachers. Thank you for your time, and have a great evening.
Brady, thank you for coming out this evening, and good luck this school year. All right. At this time, Dr. Christy Lee will recognize recognitions for academic distinctions.
Good evening, Mr. Edwards and board. This is always a great thing every month. I know it's your favorite thing when we get to recognize our students and our staff, and it will for sure be bigger every single month after this one. This is we were so happy to be able to report these results, and Ms. Olivares and Heather Christie will be sharing you more about our accountability results. But right now, we want to recognize these campuses for their outstanding performance. So Mena Elementary, and they are in the house. Anybody from Mena? So they earned an an academic distinction in post-secondary readiness. So that campus is doing a great job of preparing our kiddos for the future. Cedar Creek Intermediate, I know that they are here, and they've got teachers here tonight too. Earned an academic distinction in the content area of science, and you'll see science come up a couple of different times. Bastrop High School earned 2 distinctions, one in science and one in social studies. And Cedar Creek High School also in science and in social studies. And finally, the Colorado River Collegiate Academy, Circa. They earned 2 distinctions in the for being in the top 25% in academic growth and in closing the gaps. I believe also we have our science content specialist and our social studies content specialist in the house as well, Martha Griffin and Lady in Horn. So we appreciate all of the hard work that our principals, our teachers, our paraprofessionals, our librarians, all of those people work together to achieve these distinctions, and we're very, very proud of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lee, and on behalf of the board, I'd like to extend a thank you for your dedication and hard service and your big hearts. We do appreciate it here at Bastrop ISD. Ms. Barrientos, did anybody signed up for open forum? Okay. Now we'll move into the superintendent's report and board discussion. Mr. Edwards.
Thank you very much. Before we get into this, I do want to echo something that Pastor Cody said. I want to have our principals, our men and women that represent this wonderful district. Our service center team, Shirley, was out on the first day of school, but we have 10,894 students. We're ahead of our enrollment from last year at this time, and I'd like our principals and our campus staff to stand up and let us recognize you for the best start of a school year. So not only do they get academic distinctions, they get all the schools started. We get a fantastic start to the school year. I'd like to thank SFE, our food service, for getting them fed, transportation for getting in here, and our new partners, SSC, for making sure our buildings were ready. So to everybody, thank you. And I'd also like to acknowledge 3 board members. I would be remiss if I missed some birthdays. James Allen, it's August. We have 3 board members celebrating. James' birthday was on Sunday. We have a nice cupcake for you there, James. Mr. Moore, Billy Moore's birthday is Thursday the 23rd, coming up. Happy birthday to you. We're going to all sing happy birthday, so get warmed up while I'm finishing this up. And then Miss Seacats, Kelly, has a big birthday.
Big.
Ashley said to say that. So. But anyway, happy birthday to y'all. Will everybody join me in singing happy birthday to our August board members? 1, 2, Chico.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, James.
Board members.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you all, and happy birthday again. So, all right.
I will get back.
You'll get me back.
No, she's looking at me.
Yeah, that's exactly right. She knows.
I'm glad you got the right number of candles. Just one more year.
Just one more year. That's right. At this time, I'd like to ask Heather Christie to come to the podium and give us an update on our accountability.
Good evening, Mr. Edwards, Mr. Muchnick, members of the board. If we can get on August the 15th, TEA released campus and district ratings under the new state accountability system. This new system is made up of 3 domains: student achievement, school progress, and closing the gaps. In determining overall ratings for both campuses and districts, the better score of the 2 domains, student achievement and school progress, is used and contributes 70%. The closing the gaps domain accounts for the remaining 30%. I understand that the board has had a thorough review of our new system, so I'm going to share just a few reminders on how the scores are calculated. So let's take a quick look at each domain, beginning with student achievement. In the student achievement domain, for our elementary schools, intermediates, and middle school campuses, 100% of the domain score comes from student performance on STAR. For our high school campuses and for the district, 40% comes from STAR, while another 40% comes from college, career, military readiness indicators, and the remaining 20% comes from graduation rates. Our college, career, and military readiness indicators, or CCMRs, measures the percentage of graduates who meet at least one indicator in areas such as AP performance, ACT performance, dual credit, or industry certification. So now we'll review the school progress domain. The school progress domain has two calculations, student growth and relative performance. In Part A, student growth looks at student performance in math and reading year to year to see if the student makes at least 1 year's worth of growth. And relative performance, a campus or district's performance in the student achievement domain is compared to campuses or districts with similar percentages of economically disadvantaged students. The better of these two calculations serves as the domain score for school progress. Last, we have closing the gaps. So this domain measures the percentage of different student groups that are performing at or above state targets in 4 areas. And these student groups can include racial and ethnic groups, students receiving special education services, English learners, economically disadvantaged students, as well as others. So this year, in the first year of the system, districts received letter grades, and Bastrop ISD received an acceptable rating of C. And in campus ratings, campuses continue to receive ratings of met standard or improvement required. So 12 of our 14 campuses earned the met standard rating, and Emile Elementary and Bastrop Intermediate have been identified as improvement required. And as we just celebrated, we had 5 campuses that earned 8 distinctions in these areas. So as we acknowledge where we are in terms of 2018 accountability, we are also laser focused on where we are going in 2018 and 2019. Mr. Edwards has paved the path for us with these 3 goals: safety, security, and discipline, student achievement, and building relationships. We want to share some highlights of some of our planning around these goals with you this evening. Beginning in 2018-19, Emile will be implementing a daily social-emotional learning curriculum to build relationships with students, which we know is the foundation for a successful school year. They will also be implementing an instructional framework, which is strategies that teachers use to teach, and this framework is called the Model Classroom Project. They will also be initiating an after-school program, which will be funded through the 21st Century Grant that the district received, and this will provide additional opportunities for both tutorials and enrichments for the students there. The master schedule has been reconfigured at Emile to give teachers more time to plan. And finally, we are providing targeted campus improvement supports through both an external service provider as well as through principal and teacher coaching within CNI. As we look at Bastrop Intermediate, you'll notice that there are some similar supports in place, but I'd also like to highlight a few individualized structures that we're implementing at Bastrop Intermediate. The positive behavior supports extend beyond weekly social and emotional curriculum lessons to include weekly behavior assistance through CNI through our behavior RTI coordinator. The 5th grade schedule at BIS was reconfigured to be more reflective of an elementary schedule. So this means that students will receive 95 minutes in core instruction as compared to 60 minutes last year. And also, Bastrop Intermediate has established a new targeted intervention team. So, since our preliminary data arrived in June, we have been anticipating these outcomes, and we've been working and planning with our principals. And here we've highlighted some of our district-wide strategies that we'll be implementing this upcoming year. We plan to build off the success from our Summer Professional Development Institute, where we served approximately 600 participants. And we intend to continue providing professional development in areas such as literacy, classroom management, and PBIS team supports. We are expanding our social and emotional learning curriculum to our 6 elementary campuses, which will provide continuity pre-K through 8 with this particular focus. And teachers receive training on this curriculum during in-service week. In an effort to provide a guaranteed and viable curriculum, we have launched a new curriculum website that houses our BISD curriculum system, including written curriculum scope and sequence documents, required and recommended resources, and instructional strategies that align with our Big 8 framework. Ms. Leifer worked with teachers last year to refocus the emphasis of our teacher mentoring program for this upcoming school year. Our master schedule at the high schools have been refined to provide those tested teacher teams the opportunity to have PLC time during the day. And we also plan to offer a 4-part training on discipline for our assistant principals as we work to build capacity and leadership. And finally, as we and C&I continue to have a sharp focus in working with our campus leadership teams as we provide coaching for our teachers. So what we understand about our new accountability system is that it is about every student and helping them grow from where they are every year. And this is exactly who we are and what we are about in Bastrop ISD. So as we start this new year, we are laser focused on teaching and leading every student every day. So thank you, and are there any questions?
Could I just ask about the curriculum website?
Sure.
So is that for teachers only, or is it for parents, or?
At this time, we do have it on the internal website. As we've been getting to do that, we can certainly explore other pieces to that. But it is for our teachers. We're carrying it kind of on our intranet at this point.
Okay. Thank you, Heather.
Sure.
And that does that do scope and sequence?
It does, and so it provides, and so we did some self-auditing of our curriculum documents and things based upon training that we attended last school year, and so we've worked to refine some of the scope and sequence documents, as well as to add things like required and recommended resources and instructional strategies that we know align with what research tells us is needed in that guaranteed and viable curriculum.
Okay.
Compliment you on your very
Precise.
succinct, yes, precise teaching, leading every student every day. That's great.
Can I ask one more question about the
It's your birthday.
curriculum that you're? What?
Sure.
What is it? A curriculum that we design for discipline when you're teaching the leaders? Is it what we designed, or is it a curriculum that we've purchased, or?
Our plan is to coordinate with Region 13 on some of those core areas around discipline, things like our discipline matrix and some pieces that we have, as well as just combining some of the law pieces as well. So
Okay.
kind of working to build that 4-part series in coordination with both our internal pieces, but working with Region 13.
Okay.
And Heather, appreciate your recognizing the hours that we have studied this and been educated on this. And so we,
Yes, sir.
we definitely had some good meetings with that, and also kind of reevaluated our goals. And I know that this board is extremely passionate when we encourage Mr. Edwards to see consistency in regards to discipline across all campuses. That seems to be the majority of the feedback we got from constituents out there last year. And we know that it also affects student performance in classrooms too, and so that's Chief definitely gets encouraged just as much on safety too. So, but thank you for bringing this to us.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Heather. Financial report is for information only. That goes as well for the personnel report. You'll see a list of the countless teachers, not countless, but the numerous teachers that we've been hiring this summer. I think Panay probably feels it's countless, but we're excited. We have a great group of brand new teachers joining the district, and that report is in there for you. So at this time, I'd like to ask Chief Yarbrough to come on up and give a presentation on a program that we're very excited about that we kicked off at 3 of our campuses called Breakfast in the Classroom.
Good evening, Mr. Edwards, Mr. Muchink, members of the board. I want to speak about the Breakfast in the Classroom initiative that we launched here in the district this year, and we're very excited about it, and we want to continue to invest in this because we're seeing a lot of benefits, and we're just in week 2, and we think it's a great program. What this initiative provides is it provides an opportunity for our nutrition staff to deliver breakfast to our kids in our classrooms each morning, and they're bringing their cold, their drinks, they're bringing their food in insulated bags to breakfast every morning, and so they're bringing those directly to the classroom. And so it allows our kids to, as soon as they get to class, they're able to eat in the classroom, and breakfast, we're serving it at 7:15 in the morning at their schools, and so they're eating breakfast in small groups with their classmates and their teachers, and it gives them an opportunity to interact with each other while they're eating at the start of the class of the morning. It also allows our staff to collect those bags and after the kids have eaten, and they get to keep the fruit and eat that as the class progresses. So it provides a minimum disruption to the classroom as they're eating and learning. Currently, what we have is the campuses that were selected to be a part of this initiative were selected based on them having the highest percentage of students who qualify for free and reduced lunch or breakfast. And these campuses that were selected currently, we have at three of our elementary schools. Lost Pines had 88% of their students who qualified for free and reduced meals. Cedar Creek Elementary had 87%, and Red Rock had 85%. We launched the first week of school at Lost Pines in Red Rock, and Cedar Creek Elementary launched this week. And we're planning to expand this program to more campuses in the near future. There are many benefits, like I said earlier, that we're seeing at these campuses. One of them is it provides a positive start for both our teachers and our students each morning. And it provides a seamless integration of breakfast in the classroom and instruction without a disruption to that process. So they're able to eat while they learn and interact with their students and the staff or their teachers. It also alleviates the problem of having to get kids into the cafeteria early in the morning, and sometimes you have transportation issues where they may get there a little bit late, so they're rushing to try to eat to get to class all at the same time. So this program allows us to circumvent that and minimize that disruption. With this program, one of the great things as well is they're still provided the same high-quality, nutritious foods that meet USDA guidelines, and there's no additional cost to the district for this program. In fact, the coolers and the insulated bags and all of the equipment that were used to facilitate this initiative were received through grants that were provided to us through SFE. We've polled our campuses, and we've polled some of the staff, we've polled parents, and at this point we're getting some really good positive feedback. And one of the things that has felt really good to me, and Mr. Edwards mentioned him going around to the classrooms during the first week of school and seeing these kids enjoying their breakfast in their classrooms. And that resonated with all of us because it's something that we all were able to see, and it's just a good feeling. Parents have also provided good positive feedback about the program, and we received that. And I spoke with our cafeteria staff, and they also consider it to be a very good program. And initially, you would think, well, there's a lot that goes into it, but they're prepared for this, and they've trained for this, and they know the benefit of it. So it's a pleasure for them to go out and be able to support this and make sure that it's a success for our district. And we will continue to evaluate this program and adjust it as needed. And like I said, we're planning to expand to other campuses as we continue to assess where we are at this point. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm willing to entertain any questions that you may have.
I have a question. Okay, so the kids that get there early, like on the buses and stuff, are they going straight into the classroom, or are they
They're going straight into the classrooms.
Straight into the classroom?
Yes, ma'am.
And is there, and I've seen it done in other schools, but I'm just wondering how we're doing it. Are we, there's a set-aside time in the schedule for breakfast, or they eat and learn? Like,
No, it's set, there's a time set aside for them to
Okay. All right.
eat breakfast in the mornings.
okay, awesome. Thank you.
I believe it was Mr. Muchin, we were talking last 3-4 months ago about extra food is allowed now to be donated. I would assume there's leftovers, that sort of thing. Have we gotten together with a local food bank that we're donating the extras to and that sort of thing instead of pitching it like was not allowed in the past?
That's something that we've talked with Garrett, our food service director, about in the past, and there are some challenges that we've discussed that we're going to have to try to reconcile.
Okay.
And so he's working on that as well.
Thanks for looking.
Dr. Mix, I can respond to that too, just because my campus is using it. We have a high need for students needing snacks throughout the day, so they're actually collecting those leftovers that are safe to be collected, such as the fruits or the cereal bars, and then the kids are able to have that as a snack during the day.
Oh, nice. So there's not a lot of...
As their way out the door at the end of the day, so it's helping us in multifaceted ways, because it's serving that need in the morning, it's minimizing the unstructured time that was there before the kids going to the cafeteria in the morning, so there's a lot less unstructured time, if you will, first thing in the morning, so kids are coming in much more focused, so it's helping with that, but then, yeah, they've got their snacks throughout the day.
And the waste is pretty limited.
Pretty limited, yeah, and we're fortunate on our campus, we have a setup with a Christian's closet that has a refrigerator, so we are able to, at our campus, take those perishable items that need to be refrigerated, and we can put them in the refrigerator to have those stored for later use for kids to have.
Okay. Thank you.
But we're currently, at this time, we're not donating anything to any of the food banks. Yeah.
And hopefully we can be consistent with that setup like Ms.
Make that
Garner has there
consistent at all
across
the other campuses throughout the district. I
Right.
agree.
Thank you
All right,
for
thank you.
Well, Chief, before you leave, you got to be recognized today for outstanding service again. And since you've been here, you've caught a bank robber, which is impressive. And now today you caught a prisoner coming by one of our campuses that was secured. And Chief and one of his police officers did obtain them. And so appreciate you going over and beyond here.
You're welcome. Slow day.
All right, thank you very much, Chief Yarbrough. At this time, I'd like to ask Christy, Dr. Lee, to give us an update on our strategic action plan.
Okay. We have completed 2 years of our 5-year strategic action plan that you all approved. Our goals have remained the same, of course, but our performance objectives change every year based upon our needs. So I just wanted to review for everyone what our goals are: to develop and maintain a system of instruction that differentiates for every student's needs. And that's evident in the theme that we selected this year, which is teaching, leading every student every day. The second goal is to increase the effectiveness of communication throughout the entire BISD community. Third is to recruit, equip, and retain staff to increase instructional quality and staff instructional continuity, excuse me. And finally, to strengthen and develop our partnerships with our students, with our parents, with businesses, and the community to empower the success of our students and their productivity. So let's look at these areas and the performance objectives. First, we have instruction. So that center column are our performance objectives for this year. And the far right-hand column is the end-of-year status, where we stand in having met these performance objectives. So as you can see, we are well on our way at the end of this second year to achieving those performance objectives. Specifically, a curriculum audit was fully completed. The required and recommended resources were identified for every single grade level and every core academic area. And all of those curriculum documents, as Heather Christie mentioned earlier, are housed together online, including common assessments for those grade levels. Teacher professional development was held throughout the 17-18 year, and specific instructional strategies aligned to the Big 8 instructional model, which we've talked to you about a couple of different times in these updates, were added to those written curriculum documents that are housed online and shared with all staff. And finally, based upon a survey of teachers about what their professional development needs were, the C&I department put together a summer professional development institute, and they offered 114 different unique sessions that teachers and staff could sign up for, and that was held the latter part of July. In addition, a response to intervention, or RTI, a committee was established to select effective programs to address students' academic needs, and an RTI coordinator, which Heather also mentioned, was hired this summer. Some of the ways in which we've differentiated instruction, which was one of our performance objectives and directly addresses our goal, ESL academies held throughout the year to assist teachers in reaching our English learners, read and write software to support implementing accommodations for students who needed them, an enhanced instructional resource bank for the 4 core content academic areas, accountability and SPED team partnership in online content and language supports for the STAR test, and finally a district focus on GT certification offered through online and face-to-face professional development for teachers. In communications, you can also see our 4 performance objectives for year 2 and the end-of-year status in meeting those performance objectives. And specifically, our messaging and branding advanced through a continual focus on consistent communication design tools, the way that we use multimedia graphics and language, and the way that we produce and design videos. Our campus and district staff are consistently using Blackboard and using it in the same way. Through the parent survey that we conducted in the spring, we learned that 86% of our parents prefer email and newsletter communications, so we are pushing that to directly address their needs. But we do have a percentage that prefer social media as well. Those stats are really important, and we're excited about that. Our social media engagement has increased significantly. Our Facebook fans and followers have tripled to nearly 17,000. And I do not want Chief to take credit. It's not all his video, I promise. At least that's what I tell myself. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, we can talk later. And our reach, which means that what we're putting out coming across someone's social media feed has expanded 1,640%, so that's really exciting. The mobile app that was a part of our Blackboard suite of products that with the website and the mass notification was set to launch in June, but we had to delay that just a little bit because we had this little malware virus in the district, and that took priority. But we have a meeting tomorrow, and we're set to start that soft launch September the 4th, and our full and complete launch September 24th, so that's exciting. Our goal number 3 is recruiting and staffing. And again, you have the year 2 performance objectives and the end of year status towards meeting those. And some specific highlights. The district established a contract with a company called Career Arc to handle the advertising of its open positions on the BISD social media channel, and I believe we want to continue doing that this next year. Panay and her team helped the campuses walk through that process of identifying their desirable characteristics in new campus leadership, new principals, and identifying what the positive characteristics were of the campus and what challenges need to be addressed. And so we can use that for the district as a whole, as well as we build on the traits that we find people find desirable about BISD. That full week of PD for our teaching staff, that was completed, as I mentioned. And finally, also as Heather mentioned earlier, the BISD's new teacher mentor program is in full swing. We have a comprehensive handbook that was developed. It's now a part of our HR orientation for new staff, and 2 teacher mentor trainings have already happened just this month. And finally, our community partnerships. And again, as you can see, we're being very successful in meeting our yearly performance objectives. The students who are part of the YAC officer elections were held this summer, and they have already received their open meetings and Public Information Act training as council members. And Linda Umble, the city manager, will be providing some board ethics training to them as well. So that's exciting. I think that's coming up either in September or October. Our community education courses available to the community have expanded since our last update. Rodeo de Salud was held in July. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. It was May. That's really close to July. It is. A long summer. Remember. So that was another community event where we offered things for free: food, beverages, classes, community engagement, and pony rides, which is always a big draw. The free heart screenings and physicals that we've been offering are courtesy of our community partners, and those are always very important for our student athletes and their families. And finally, the enhanced job fair that we held in late spring in April was great this year, and I think we want to continue some of those unique things that we added in this year's job fair. It's already being planned for next year. Are there any questions about, so congratulations. Everybody give yourselves a round of applause. Really. Are there any questions about our year 2 performance objectives or the results?
I just caught that last one, resume building and prepping kids for what to wear to an interview is huge. In interviewing, I've had kids show up in flip-flops and torn jeans for an interview, and I just so excited to see that that's being taught.
And just as a way of connection, Kelly, since you brought that up, so you know, we had a fashion show, and we had consultants come in and they talked to the students about that, and we used the they've already gone home, but we used the clothes from Christian's Closet to talk to students about if they're leaving school and going to a job interview right after school, or they have to go to work, what are some things that they could do to quickly transition into maybe more appropriate attire that, and we used the clothing that was donated through Christian's Closet for our little fashion show. So that was it's that connection that we have there. Any other questions?
You can see the accomplishments that you've achieved, and it's really exciting and obvious. It's not something that we could look at it and say, "Oh, really?" because it's really happening. I wanted to ask, just on the RTI, Enhanced Instructional Resource Bank. I just don't know what that is. Can you explain that?
Heather touched on that just a little bit when she talked about the identifying required resources and recommended resources that would be tied to a specific grade level or content area. All of those being identified, pooled, and located in a common area where it's easily accessible for all of the teachers and staff. Anything else that you would want to add to that? Okay.
Okay, thank you. Great job.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Lee. All right, this time we'll move into our consent agenda. Would any board member like to pull any of the consent agenda items for discussion? All right, if not, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items as presented. I will be abstaining from the vote.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
I represent one of the companies that submitted a proposal on item 5, the waste service. Have the board already made their decision, or are you entertaining any kind of comments from the bidders tonight?
There's been a recommendation from the cabinet, and we're going to see here in a minute if we honor their recommendation.
All right. Will I be able to know who that is, sir?
After the board meeting, Ms. Callahan can visit with you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. All right. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Please note, carries by 6 votes, 1 abstained. All right, this time we will move into our action items. We will consider approval of proposed tax rate to be published in the notice of public meeting to be held in September. Ms. Callahan.
Yes. Good evening, Board. It's been great news tonight, and I'll continue with great news regarding the tax rate. And as you know, in August, we always bring the proposed board tax rate that we'll be bringing and having a public hearing on in September. I'd like to introduce Ryan O'Hara and Amina with HSE. They're our financial advisors. They're here tonight. Also, Jerry Kyle is our bond counsel with ORIC. Another item that we'll take in a couple of moments is also good news is a bond redemption, so I'll talk about that a little bit, and then that'll be a separate action item. But we are proposing to keep the same tax rate as we had last year, $1.04 for M&O and 40 cents for INS. And with that, we will also be able to do a bond redemption of $2.2 million, so basically paying off bonds early, kind of like you'd pay some of your mortgage off early, and that'll be a separate item, and Ryan will be here to speak about that and give you a little information about that. But it is our recommendation to recommend the board approve the above tax rate of $1.04 for M&O, 40 cents for INS, to be published in the September 8th newspaper and then adopted at the September 18th board meeting with a public hearing.
Any discussion from the board? All right, this time I'll entertain a motion.
I so move.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye. 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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Looks like we have Vice President Molly McClure. We will consider endorsing a nominated individual for the position of the TASB Board of Directors. Ms. McClure.
Yes. The following candidate, her name is Verna Jean Mott, is asking for our endorsement for her re-election to the TASB Board of Directors, Region 13. The endorsement period ends on August the 29th, 2018. And I believe we all received a letter from her asking for our vote for her. Has quite a resume and has been very active in Region 13 as long as I've been on the board, I know. So.
All right, is there any discussion or anybody want to put their name down? All right, this time I'll entertain a motion.
That we endorse Verna Jean Mott.
All right, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. That motion carries. Thank you, Ms. McClure, for presenting that to us. Ms. Callahan.
Yes. Yes, Ryan O'Hara, he's going to come up and talk to you a little bit about the bond defeasance, and then I'll come back and give you the recommendation for the
Thank
board.
you.
Okay?
I'll keep it short and sweet. Ryan O'Hara with HSC. I did pass out prior to the meeting a little analysis, and we've been working with Sandra on this. Again, we've got about $2.2 million in excess funds that we're going to do a good thing and pay off some of your bonds with. It makes most sense to pay off your Series 2011 bonds. So we did 2 scenarios, and after talking with Sandra, the biggest bang for our buck is paying off the 2037 maturity of that 2011 issue. It's down there on the bottom right. Again, $2.2 million that's out in 2037, and that's going to reduce our overall debt burden by $3.816 million. So that, again, is the biggest impact that we can do for this kind of $2.2 million in defeasance. So, and we'll be working with the paying agent registrar, escrow agent, and we'll try and finalize this before October the 1st. But if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. But it's pretty straightforward, and congratulations paying off debt early.
All right. Do we know what that bond was used for? Just out of curiosity.
It was 2011.
11.
I'm sure they're refunded bonds. So probably
It's a refunding issue that refunded 7, yeah.
So 2007 bonds that were from our last bond election.
Oh, okay.
So it was the school?
Yeah. School stadium or the fine arts. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right.
So the 07 says school building on my documents here.
That's right.
All right. Fantastic. Does the board have any discussion, any questions? Thank you for coming out this evening.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jerry. So I recommend the board adopt an order by the Board of Trustees of the Bastrop Independent School District providing for the defeasance and calling for redemption of certain currently outstanding obligations of the district, authorizing the execution of an escrow agreement and containing other matters later related here too.
Okay, so we have that recommended language for a motion. Any discussion from the board? If there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion at this time.
You need to read the motion? Do we need to read that same statement again?
I don't have it in front of me. If you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to. I just don't know if I get creative or not. That's I move that I move that the board adopt an order by the Board of Trustees of the Bastrop Independent School District providing for the defeasance and calling for redemption of certain currently outstanding obligations of the district, authorizing the execution of an escrow agreement and containing other matters related thereto.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Ms. Callahan, are we current on our availability or opportunity to refinance? I know we've been doing a lot of refinancing over the years, and I know there's some time that has to pass before you can qualify to refinance, but are we going to see more coming in the future, or are we pretty much?
And we just spoke about that.
Yeah, we really don't have anything on the immediate horizon based on the call dates. 2011 bonds make the most sense. And part of that language in there, setting up an escrow agreement, we have to do that because that call date is far out in the future. When we get close to those call dates, those kind of opportunities start to present themselves.
Okay.
And there was also,
we watch that pretty closely.
Jerry, certain legislation that does not allow advance refundings at this time, and that is until, there was a timeline on that when you and I talked about that. But that's just a legislative,
Yep. The new tax law precluded us from doing longer periods of time. You have to basically be in a current call situation, which is 90 days in front of the call date.
So, but certainly when we can, again, we will.
Yeah, and we watch it for you.
That's right, yeah.
Great.
Yes, they do. All right.
Thank you all for your services. And Ms. Callahan, thank you very much. All right. The rest of the agenda here is information items. We have a board calendar of events. We have TASB policy update 111. It's only a few pages. I encourage you to cover that one night or at one day or 2 days. And anyways, then we also have some information from the Central Appraisal District reappraisal plan for information only. Any other comments from the board?
Just the appraisal district did a very thorough job at explaining the appraisal, so please thank them and compliment them. And
yes, on that reappraisal plan, yes.
It's my book of the month.
Yeah, yes, it is.
56-page explanation, yeah.
Yes.
But it was very thorough.
It is. And they'll be seeing every property.
Yeah,
which is great.
So good.
Fantastic. Any other discussion from the board? All right, this time, are there any objections to adjourning this meeting?
Do we not have a closed session?
Not necessary.
Okay.
We don't need one. All right. Any objections to adjourning this meeting? All right, if there are none, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.